men, and I use the term loosely. Hey, I got my bike back on the lift. The last time you saw this was probably, I don't know, April or thereabouts. I had 2 or 3 total rebuilds come in that occupied the lift, so I couldn't have my bike on there. I had it up, the chassis completely off the ground so I could work on the wheels. I got the wheels pretty much sorted out, and I wanted to put it back on the ground to check the stance, so I did. Then I wheeled it back up on the lift, which is, where you see it now. And I got a lot of work to do on this thing. I got oil tanks, seats, gas tanks, and I don't know, perhaps contrary to the way most people would do something, I'm going to work on this front brake. This is the bracket that came with it. I've seen it on the same setup on other bikes. I don't know what kind of brake this is. It might be a Grimeca. I don't know. But in either case, I don't like the way this kind of cocks over. I want it tucked up and tilted back and more in line with the axle. So I know a lot of guys do CAD, real CAD and then cardboard aided design. I'm going to do WAD, wood aided design. I'm going to use this piece of thin plywood over here and drill a couple of holes and experiment with where this caliper is going to sit. So that's the project at hand anyway right now. This is where the caliper is mounted right now. I envision that this hole is going to be moved this direction and this hole is going to be moved this direction. I want to try to do a precise job of cutting this out so that I can bolt the caliper to this piece of wood and then bolt this piece of wood to the fork tube and kind of play with it a little bit to see how I can make the caliper fit the way I want it to fit. I'm going to take it out to the dirty shop, put it on the big sander, and just kind of refine what part of these edges I can. So here's the new template I'm making installed. And this is why I wanted to use plywood. I could have used a piece of aluminum, a piece of plastic, but I wanted something rigid so I could get a little more precision than cardboard would allow me. And I think that the caliper bolts need to be in line with the center of the wheel. So I'm just going to kind of draw an arc here. Let's see if I can do this. So I think the 2 mounting bolts will need to be on one of these lines. So the question is, how close can I get it to the fork tube? How close can I get it to the fork tube? And I think I'm just going to drill a hole, I don't know, 1/2 inch farther in, or maybe 3/8 of an inch or something. And I'm just going to try and keep moving it until I've got it as far as I could get it. So this is how I'd prefer to have the caliper mounted. It's pert near vertical. Right now it's just sitting on the disc. There needs to be a little bit of clearance between the disc and the caliper. And I'm going to need to try to figure out how to transfer this whole location and this whole location to the mounting bracket. And, I can't just get a pencil behind her, but I got an idea. But what I want to do first is I want to get a piece of something and tape it to the disc to to get the a little vertical spacing so the disc isn't cutting into the caliper. So I'm just going to tape a piece of household, I don't know, 14 gauge, 12 gauge wire, whatever it is, to the top of the disc. Now when I set the caliper on there, I'll have a, I don't know, it's probably about 1/8 of an inch clearance between the caliper and the disc, which should be plenty. Okay, so now how to transfer these holes. Well, here's my idea. I got a snap gauge. I should be able to get one end in the hole on the caliper, and then the other end will be touching the bracket. And I think if I put some Sharpie on here, I could use it to transfer the hole. So let's give that a try. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. This is actually working out well so far. God only knows I got a long way till I'm done. But I drilled the hole in from the back side where my Sharpie marker transferred onto the wood. I got a screw in there. It lines up with the hole in the caliper, and now the caliper has got this raised area on it. I need to carve out of the wood clearance for that raised area, and once I got that carved out, I'm going to drill the other mounting hole. So yeah, I think it's going to work. You know, I should use the same trick to get a rough idea where the top mounting bolt is going to go. All right, I'm going to use my use another snap gauge to transfer approximately where that top hole is located onto my WAD. And there's my mark right there. Beautiful. All right, so here's my problem. Here is the bottom hole of the caliper mount that I drilled. Here is the top hole of the caliper mount. I traced the outline from the original bracket. Well, you could see it right here. These are the same relative holes on the bracket. So if I made this cutout, my bracket's no longer going to be one piece. So that's not going to work. Plan B. When I started this, I drew an arc from the axle, from the mounting, the original mounting bolt hole from the axle. I just drew an arc. And this hole here, which is going to be the new mounting hole for the caliper, as you recall, I drilled it from the back side from the mark I transferred with my snap gauge. Well, that hole happened to end up on that arc. So in order to get me some distance between this edge and the caliper so that I've got some meat left on this thing when I relocate it, I'm just going to drill another hole over here and then relocate the caliper and transfer another mark the same way I just did. So I'm going to go do that now. Well, my guess on how this geometry was going to work out wasn't correct. So this hole is not quite in the right place. it needs to be kind of up and over a little bit. And since I can't drill, part of a hole in a hole, I cut the end off of a worn out wire toothbrush, and because I didn't have any wooden dowel rod, I turned the end of it round, and I'm going to glue this in here so that I could drill an overlapping hole. Necessity, the mother of invention, no doubt. Okay, here's my 2 plugs patched with my dowel pin made out of my wire toothbrush handle turned down on my lathe. And carbide tool bit cuts this wood pretty easy, I guess not surprisingly. I got this idea. I watch YouTube channels, of course, and one of my favorites, believe it or not, is a guy named Ted Woodford who repairs musical instruments, and he does this shit all the time. And anyway, that's where I got the idea from doing this patch at. These are glued in with a little drop of super glue because, of course, I'm very impatient and I want it all done now. But anyway, super glued them in there, and we're going to see what happens when I make my new alignment marks. All right, I've moved my caliper farther away from the fork leg so that I'll have a little more thickness on my bracket. I'll even go a little bit more. So I'm going to re-ink my snap gauge. And go back in to transfer the mark. And it looks like my new mark ended up here, just about dead nuts between the old marks. So I'm going to drill this hole and we'll see what happens. All right, caliper is in my new mounting hole, which is almost exactly between the other 2 holes and a little bit farther out from the center. We're going to re-ink my snap gauge. And it looks like my new hole is right about here. So let's test the alignment and we'll see how I make out. Here's the old bracket. I got a screw holding the old bracket into the new hole on what will be the wooden replica of the new bracket. I got my top mounting hole centered up over there. So this is where the cutout for the new mounting position will have to be. And you can see it's thin over here, but I have more than I had before. Plus this old cutout was bigger than it needed to be. So I'm probably going to be able to trim this somewhere in this area. So yeah, I think I'm going to have just enough meat left over to make it work. All right, we're going to cut this out and see if it works. If it doesn't look like it'll work, I got a little more room on the plywood. New shape is going to be this line right here. No, new shape is going to be, well, I don't even know. The new shape is going to be along this outline right here. We'll cut it out and see how it works out. Here's my 2 plug repairs. I hope Ted Woodford would be proud. Here's the leftovers of the worn out wire brush I chomped off. So we'll cut this out and see how it works out. And here is the finished product. So much of this kind of stuff is just a matter of taste. To me, this looks much more like it's part of the bike, more so than this did, which is just kind of an ad stuck on there. This to me looks like it was manufactured to be, part of a cohesive design. I really like this. There's not enough beef in this piece to modify it to make it work. So I'm going to have to get a chunk of, that's probably 3/8 inch aluminum to cut this out of. I don't have any laying around here right now, so that'll be another project for another day. And now that it's all bolted up in there, you could see why I wanted to use something other than cardboard to do this. Anyway, very happy with this. Got a chunk of aluminum. Actually came overnight via Amazon. The original front brake bracket, the template for the new front brake bracket. So basically I got to carve this out of this. Shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to use these two holes. I'm going to use this as a drilling template for this hole and this hole. And I could do some of it on the mill. I might do some of it with the jigsaw. I might do some of it with the circular saw. I haven't quite decided yet. But anyway, I'm going to carve this shape out of this chunk of aluminum. And you can see why I have to get another piece of aluminum. In a perfect world, this part would have had enough meat on it. But you could see that, this is features that are in areas where there is no metal on the other one. So I'm going to carve a new one of these out of this. All right, in order to be as accurate as possible, I'm going to use the original and a transfer punch to get these first two holes set up. So I'm going to go drill these two. And I got the center punches here. When the drill bit falls into the center punch, you could actually see the bit center itself. It'll move a little bit if I don't have it right exactly, so it'll get right in the center of the center punch mark. You see, you might have been able to see that walk over a little bit when the point of the drill bit got into the dimple for the center punch. This here is a Diablo aluminum cutting blade, and it really works surprisingly well. If I could, keep my hand steady, it'll produce a cut that looks almost like it was machined. So put your hearing protection on, because this makes a lot of noise. Not as good as I've done previously, but not bad. I guess I could cut this off too. I was thinking about leaving this part on there so that I got something to clamp to in the mill bed. But right now the plan is to clamp through these holes to set it up on the mill. I got my bracket set up in the mill. I just used the angle duplicator to get it lined up, and essentially I'm just going to carve away the parts that don't need to be there. I'm going to cut this first, so this side is now parallel to the bed of the lathe, so I'm just going to punch a couple holes in it, go in with an end mill, and machine this flat surface next. Should be pretty straightforward. You know, none of this outside dimension is particularly critical. So like I said, I'm just carving it out of a chunk of aluminum. Only measurement tool I've used so far is the angle duplicator. All right, just by eyeball, I lined up on my layout marks, and we're just going to mill this one side over here. So let's see if it works. I'm going to crank the rip'ems up a little. we are. Original, prototype, final product. Let's take a look at it and see what it looks like installed. So here's the final result. I'm very happy with this. It looks like it's more compact and more integrated to the bike. So I'm very happy with this. This is a GMA caliper. It is stamped on the back what kind of caliper it is. So it is a GMA. Very happy with this. I'm going to probably polish this. I'm not sure whether I'm going to polish these kinds of things or leave them this satin finish. This here, I'm not sure whether this is polished or whether this is anodized. But yeah, very happy with this. I like this arrangement. It's good to go. So with that, I am out of here. Men, if you like this channel and this content, the single most important thing you could do to help grow this channel is to hit the subscribe button. I also have new design coffee cups and stickers available. You know, I like the old coffee cups, but I like these new ones even more. Links are included in the description down below. And for those of you who really want to go the extra mile, you could join me on Patreon. Link is also included in the description down below. And to all of you who have watched these videos, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you very much. I really, really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye.